Why come I can't hear you?
You know what? This is just one of them nights. The enemy is just, excuse my language, y'all, but the enemy is really fucking with me tonight. But it's okay because I am here, and this
Yeah,
is it's gonna get done tonight.
absolutely.
Absolutely,
It
absolutely.
is.
How you doing, Crouch?
I'm good in yourself. I'm glad you paid the bill and decided to come in and join in the reindeer games. I appreciate it. I'm pretty sure Chad does too. Being a guest and being very patient.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
no, can't wait to talk to him. My name is David Crouch of Shaking Up the Algorithms, co-host with my
Yes.
beautiful co-host, Shawan Tomise Jones. And we are going to have an amazing show tonight,
Wow.
despite the technical difficulties.
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
show is a part two regarding narcissism. Oh, it's gonna get
Yes.
real. There's a
Yes.
lot of things that I didn't know that I've learned a lot last week from the beautiful Lisa. Last week, I'm glad she came in. Hi, Team Light Skin. Light skin people come in too. Appreciate you. Yeah.
Oh God.
So, but I look forward to learning as much as I possibly can, and all the listeners and all the viewers learning with us. And and if you need to heal, you need to get some out of this will help you because I have learned so much the last time about narcissism that I didn't even know about because I don't delve. That's not my ministry. I don't delve into that, but I learned so much and what to look out for. And I look forward to learning more today. So, what do you have for us, Miss Tomis?
Well, y'all, again, I wanted to just, before we even start, say thank you to our guests before I introduce them, for even being on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, your information, your input is invaluable. And
Yeah,
there are so many people that really need to, understand the dynamics of this topic. And
absolutely.
it's not really discussed often.
No,
So, I'm glad we've created a platform in order for us to be able to do that tonight. And hopefully, this will bring awareness to a lot of people that are not.
right.
So, with that being said, let me go ahead and introduce our guest. If you don't mind, Chad, I know you've been very patient, but I'm going to do ladies first. Okay. All right. So, first, again, I wanted to introduce our guest. She was previously on the show with part one. Just to give you a little more background about her, she is a native of Brooklyn, New York, but she immigrated. Actually, her family immigrated from Barbados. She currently lives in Atlanta, Georgia. She's created what she mentioned before, which is called Flags Unseen. That is actually going to be her first publication, as
Mm-hmm.
well as a mission that she has created to highlight domestic violence and narcissism abuse within relationships as well. Um, just to kind of give you a little description, of course, Flags Unseen is about narcissistic verbal and physical abuse. And she has personal experience along with knowledge about it firsthand to be able to heal other women and men alike. In order to be able to move past and move through those type of situations.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, I'm going to bring her to the stage. Welcome, Miss Lisa Rudder, back again.
Hello, thank you so much for having me back again. I'm so
Oh, no
happy to be here.
problem. We enjoy you. We enjoy you.
Facts.
Thank you.
Our next guest, wonderful gentleman. I haven't even met him, personally, but again, he was recommended and introduced to me through Lisa. He is a certified life relationship and identity coach. He lives and resides right now currently in New Jersey. In addition to his coaching, he also specializes in psychoanalysis, neuro linguistic programming, as well as cognitive behavioral therapy. And he's also taken extensive training in grief and PTSD counseling. So
Mhm.
there are a lot of areas of expertise that he focuses on.
Mhm.
So with that being said, before I even bring up anything else, let me bring him to the stage. Let's welcome this evening Chad Harrison Nails. Thank you so much, Chad, for being a part
Yeah,
of the show.
right.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. You are very welcome.
Absolutely.
And as we were stating, Lisa was on with part one.
Right.
Um, we went into a lot of detail as to what some of the signs are
Right.
when dealing with a narcissist and what are some of the things to look out for. Now, in that previous show, of course, I kind of showed a video clip of a young lady talking about a situation with a woman being in that position for so long and not, I guess you could say, not getting out or not escaping it, even after 8 years.
Mhm.
But first and foremost, before we go into anything, because I'm good on the clips, there was one that I didn't show in the first episode that I kind of want to start off tonight, because again, we're going to dive more into a lot of the different signs.
Mhm.
But I wanted to kind of show this clip that also reiterates a lot of what was talked about in part one. So let me go ahead and show that.
Okay.
Don't argue with a narcissist. I'm going to give you 5 narcissistic traits that should clue you into situations where productive arguments or healthy conflict is simply impossible. And by the way, these are narcissistic traits. It doesn't necessarily mean the person is diagnosable with NPD. Number 1, deflect. They try to shift the focus of the conversation onto something or someone else. Often they'll do this by turning the tables on the person confronting them as if they're the problem. Number 2, deny. They refuse ownership or any wrongdoing or even possibility of wrongdoing. 3, gaslight. They try to convince the other person into thinking that they're the one overreacting, they're exaggerating or misunderstanding the situation. 4, attack. They become defensive or straight up attack the person that's confronting them, and they might even insult or demean the other person just to deflect attention. 5, victim. When attacking doesn't work, they attempt to elicit sympathy by portraying themselves as the victim of the situation. Whenever these behaviors are present, you need to know that healthy conflict is going to be impossible, and continuing the conversation is only going to be a waste of your time and your energy.
Okay. So, those were some things, again, that we kind of touched on, but again, it was presented a little differently. So I definitely want to kind of get some feedback from our guest as well, just to kind of see what your standpoint is on that, and just so that you can expound on that as well. So either one of you can go first.
Ladies first. You got it.
Well, for me, all I can say is nothing but the facts there. Like you said, we went over those exact things in our first episode, and that's exactly what the narcissist does. They will not take the blame. Everything will be pointed the finger towards you, and they do not have any responsibility for anything that they have done, will do, or have planned to do. So I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. That video laid it out. I love how plainly they laid it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's other stuff, but those are probably the top 5. With variations on each of them. Yeah, definitely accurate as far as depicting what happens when you are engaged with somebody who, and I love how he said somebody who has narcissistic traits but might not necessarily be diagnosable as having NPD, because there is a difference between having narcissistic traits and it falls on the spectrum actually, where the level of persistence, the level of consistency, the level of intensity that you encounter with them could have you fall in the lane of having narcissistic personality, as opposed to somebody who simply has high narcissistic traits or low narcissistic traits. And what's so funny is, having studied this as part of my abnormal psychology courses, we all have a little bit, just a teeny bit of narcissism, because it plays into our ability to self-manage to self-assess. It's when it gets out of control. It's when it gets out of balance, or when it becomes toxic, that you fall into those realms of it becoming abusive, it becoming pervasive, persistent, and then destructive to the relationships around you.
Okay, I have a question. I always have good questions.
Yeah, I watched the first part. I was
questions.
ready. I watched the first part. I said, he got a question. Here comes another one. I was ready. I was ready.
All right, this is a good one. Okay, now I remember the first time we talked about it and it was presented. It was like we had a conversation about narcissists mainly don't talk about themselves. You know, they pretty much ask, but they pretty much get information from other person, but they don't really talk about their own lives much, right? Or no?
Yes and no.
Okay, expound on that.
How a narcissist will talk about themselves, they'll speak on themselves from a superiority standpoint.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
All right. So
okay.
if you talk especially in relation to you.
Okay.
So if it's if they're further along educationally or academically, they'll harp on that. If they're further along financially, they'll harp on that. Even down to instances where if they believe they are spiritually superior to you, they will use that as a point.
Got it. Okay. Well, I have a question. Like, if you see that, because we joked about it with me, because I'm like, if I see one red flag, I'm out. I ain't got time. I'm not dealing with none of that. I'm out. Seriously. So my thing is, when you see a red flag and that person is potentially a narcissist, what allows that person to say, okay, well, I'm going to still deal with this person? Like, how can you as an adult be manipulated to that extreme that allows you to still want to deal with that?
I know for me, this is where I have to actually start telling my story, and and there were a lot of factors that played into that. I encountered it in my marriage, my previous marriage, and there were, aside from it being there, was I of the necessary level of maturity to even jump into a marriage? Looking back on it, hindsight, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Maturity wise, self-awareness wise, and why that's even more important than the maturity level is because I got married living a life that I thought I had to live instead of living the life that I was designed to live, if y'all get that. Like, I was doing things with the mindset of, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be this good Christian man, and divorce isn't supposed to be an option, and so on, so on, so on. So with me walking into the marriage with that mindset, it set me up.
Got it.
It set me up to pay for it later.
Oh, that's deep. That's deep.
And it does
and wanting marriage wanting marriage as intensely as I did, because I wanted to be married since I was like 5 years old. I was in kindergarten coloring outside the lines and asking, short of it, you want to marry me when we go out? Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Because I had wonderful examples of marriage around me. I had my parents and neighbors and friends and so on. So my parents, up until my father passed away back in November of 2021, they were a month shy of 52 years together. Wow. So I had wonderful examples around me,
right,
of it. And I remember Lisa said something in the part one, you don't know what to call it until you know what it is. So when you're in a relationship and you have this understanding of, oh yeah, there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be high points and low points, because that's just how life rolls and stuff like that. But you don't find out until you get that information in front of you that some of these low points are, oh no, this is a bad mindset.
Right.
Now, when you said you were set up, with the marriage, as far as the mindset of what you think a marriage should be.
Mm.
When you say set up, when you say that in the sense of because you were in the marriage and you were locked in, or you was vulnerable to what she was gonna do in the marriage. Like, explain it. Expound.
Because of my own beliefs,
Got it.
because of my own wants, and because of my own desires, I was ignorant of what was happening. I was like, no, I'm gonna power through this. I'm gonna make this work like my parents' marriage work. I'm gonna make
Got
it. I'm gonna make it work.
Right.
Not understanding that I was, and let me be clear. This is not what caused my depression, because I was diagnosed with severe depression. This is not what caused it, but it definitely added to it. This is not what caused my anxiety, but it definitely added to it. This is not what caused me to end up in the psych ward twice, but it certainly added to it.
So divorce basically was not an option. Basically,
that's what I was saying to myself.
Got it.
Right.
That's what I was saying to myself. No, I'm gonna figure this out. We're gonna go to counseling. We went to secular counseling. That didn't work. We went to spiritual counseling. That didn't work. I let her pick the counselor. And she ended up not liking what was happening because the counselor was focusing more on me because I was the one being abused.
That's deep.
That was part of what we said in the first episode about our parenting, what we were raised to do. Like you asked the question, what makes us stay? Because we are not thinking or understanding even about ourselves. What's wrong here? We're just focused on what we are responsible for, what we're supposed to do. Why, we already picked this person to marry, or we already picked this person for a long-term relationship. Now this is what we're supposed to do because of what we were taught. You stick it in,
be a man. Be a man up.
Right.
Especially for the male experience.
Right.
Because you don't want to go back home thinking that you failed.
Correct. Right. Correct.
Especially being a man.
That's a big thing on being a male. Right.
Yeah.
That is huge.
That's why when Lisa came to me with the premise of the show, I was like, yeah, I'm there yesterday. Sure thing. I can talk about it. No problem.
So another question with narcissism, in your experience, like, Chad, what really happens in the aspect of narcissism with men and Black men in particular that a lot of Black men wouldn't be aware of? Like, because until we talked about it last time, I really wasn't aware of it and what happens. Is it gaslighting? I'm like, what is that? I heard of it, but I didn't know what it was. So what is something that happens, in the Black male experience that a lot of them probably are not aware of?
You could walk into any barbershop and us. We get into the barbershop and we get to talking about life. We get to talking about life and everything, right? The good parts, the bad parts. And one of the other parts is we get to talking about, our stressors.
Right.
Right. So you have that part. So imagine how compounded it is to go out into the world, deal with all of those inherent stressors, come back into your house and have to walk on eggshells. There is no it puts you in a level of constant stress to where for me it actually started to show physically. Case in point, very powerful story. I actually have kids out of my marriage. I have beautiful 11-year-old and 9-year-old and whatnot. And before we had split, I took them to their pediatrician for their checkup and so on and so forth. And the pediatrician goes through the whole 9 yards with them. They're fine. They're great. All right. But then she asked me to excuse myself from the room. And I'm like, okay. I'm out in the car with the kids. My now ex-wife comes back out into the car and it's like she has this weird look on her face. I'm like, what is going on? Why does she have to talk to you by herself? Like, I've never been asked to leave the room. She said she has a concern. I was like, what's the concern? She's like, I don't know if I should tell you. I was like, you better say something.
Right.
The doctor thinks you're on heroin.
What?
I was so depleted
Mm.
mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. It was showing up like I was on something.
Mm.
Wow.
Wow.
The sunken eyes. I didn't even notice the jitters that I would have, and
Mm.
that was part of it. Again, a conglomeration of many stressors, and not it just being that, but
Right.
there was tensions there were family tensions that I was having. We were having financial issues, um, and then relationally on top of all of that, and then like Lisa was sharing in part one, that level, that point of isolation that comes with that specifically, to the point where you couldn't talk to her friends because they weren't around. Couldn't talk to my friends, they weren't around. They stopped inviting us to stuff.
Mm.
To the point where one of my best friends didn't invite us to his wedding. I had to find out
Wow.
maybe almost a year afterward, that he hadn't even gotten married.
Wow.
But we were that island. It was me and her family, because we lived closer to her family than we did to mine. And and that's what happened. That's part of what went down. That was part of my experience there.
Wow.
They will always bring you into their fold. The mentioning about living with their family was a reminder that yes, they do, even though they isolate you into your own world until
Yeah.
you don't have people of your own, they make sure that they're surrounded with their
Yeah.
army, so that you definitely also feel like I can't turn to them and
Yep.
there's nowhere else for me to go.
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
if stuff did go down, if stuff did go left, I was already, and not to say that it was always bad, because of course it's never completely bad. No relationship is ever completely bad. So I'm not going to say that it was just hell on earth all the time, every single day, and so on and so forth. There were moments and memories with their family that I have absolutely wonderful memories about.
Mm-hmm.
But when stuff went left, I was already in their camp.
Mm.
Any reinforcements, quote unquote reinforcements, that I would need were an hour away.
Mm. Mm.
But I was already, they could walk and get to us.
To about five people at least. They can walk
Wow.
to at least five
At
people
least, at least.
easily.
Wow. Mm. 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 Wow.
Well, I wanted to make mention too. Someone in the chat mentioned that there are two different types or well, not symptoms, but syndromes, I guess, of narcissism: the covert and the overt.
Yes.
Can you kind of dive into that as well, just to kind of give the differences between the two?
Yeah. I dealt with, mine was definitely covert.
Mhm.
So out and the differences is really like, whereas people outside of the relationship can see it out, or yeah, where people outside of the relationship can see it, versus it really being insulated inside of the relationship. Nobody outside of our relationship knew what was happening.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Extremely covert. All right.
Mm.
The overt narcissist, oh, they'll say it to anybody.
They don't care.
Mm.
Yeah.
They will say it to anybody. They don't care. They're that deep in in living out that narrative. And I'm big on talking about narratives. You'll hear me say that a lot. They're so big on sold on living out that narrative, and almost having a point of pride about it. Like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm this and I'm that, and I'm so on and so forth.
Mm.
The
Mhm.
covert narcissist, they'll only do that with their food source.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
I use that term very, very intentionally, because
That's what we are.
once the narcissist, any type of narcissist, finds somebody that and they're not even always aware that they're doing it. That's the crazy part, because to them it's normal.
Mm.
Yep.
Once they find somebody that appeals to that aesthetic for them,
Mhm.
it's open season.
Yep.
It is open season. They will find whatever point. If you make a mistake, they're like, oh no, it's fine. It's not. It's ammunition.
Yep.
It's ammunition. They will take any point of leverage that they can find on you and turn it into a point of superiority, because that's their high. I'm over you. I'm better than you. I'm stronger than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm faster than you. I make more money than you. I'm more spiritual
Yeah.
crime than you. I have better sex than you.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with Chad. I was saying that everything that you can think of, they will have over you, even if it's something that they do for you. Like, give you, you need $10 to get to work because your check doesn't come on Thursday. Oh, well, if it wasn't for me, you couldn't even get to work today.
Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly.
I mean, I was telling Shawan, I was like, look, I don't even want to date. I'm gonna die alone. I don't want to do that. I mean, because what
There's
the hot ham sandwich is this?
There's regular people still out here. Don't give up yet.
All is not lost. All is truly not lost. I will say that it is.
Okay.
It's truly not lost, and not
Okay.
only it falls at around a rate of, and this is going off of stats that I had back in 2021 based off of 2020 information. It sits about 75-25 male to female. So for every 3 out of 4 males and 1 out of 4 women have it, to the point where it's truly detrimental.
That's why we're considered trash, huh? Got it. It's okay. Got it.
Can't win for losing, bro. Can't win for losing, bro. I'm with you.
Oh my God.
Okay, I can't be no hero. I'm trash. Got it. Okay. So I got all this in front of me before I even say hi. You made no decision at the threshold of my hello. Okay.
Although, if I were to speculate, I would imagine that number is shifting.
Yeah. That's bad. That's bad.
It is. It is.
Sad.
So Chad, so how do we get around, like, well, we can't really, because like I said, we're already considered guilty before proven in. So how do we get around that narrative of because that word is thrown around a lot. Narcissist. Everybody's a narcissist.
Yeah, and half the people that say it ain't using it right.
Correct.
Right.
And I have no problem
That's
saying
so true.
Right.
They'll say, if you disagreed with me, you a narcissist. Well, you ain't right. You are incorrect, ma'am. Here's how.
And then yes.
So what else can you say? And we're big on the trend. We the whole trend of mental health and mental wellness becoming more mainstream and more upfront and having more light shed on it, and that being fed into the whole trend machine. That this is unfortunately what you get. It takes people like us who are people like Lisa, like myself, who are actually doing the work, and she's actually the one that introduced me to it. Because I've known her for 5 years, almost 5 years now, and super close. And I would tell her, what happened. We tell stories of past relationships. And I started sharing with her what was happening, and she was like, you might want to look at this term. And I was like, okay, not a problem. This was just before I had started my psychology degree and stuff like that. So once she pointed that to me, and then I was like, Professor, is this true? And they was like, yep. I was like, I've suffered.
If that was one of the times where you don't know how to tell somebody something, like you have a big bug on your head. How do I say?
No, you were good about it. You were solid about it. You was just like, Chad, you might want to look at this. You might want to look at this. And I'm like, okay. Because I'm like, you tell me something, I'm gonna at least investigate, and if it holds water, it holds water. I'm cool. I have no problem with that.
So let me ask you a question. In a family infrastructure, how does that behavior develop?
it's largely based around performance.
Mm.
It's largely uh if you find yourself in a family dynamic where it's like you have to be, you have to be so on your game. You have to be perfect. You got to do this. If you're going to do sports, you better be varsity. If you are good in academics, you better A's. I don't want to see no B's. B means better bring me an A next time. you know, and it's
Wow.
that level. It's that level of, and this is not for any case, but in most cases, it's performance based, where you just have this, either performance or praise. One of the two P's, either performance based or praise based, where it's either you are driven by these forces to always be on point, always be, uh, you know, always be on top of your game, always be in control. All right,
Right.
so performance, praise, or control, or the praise aspect where you're just always getting to, oh, you're so wonderful, you're so great, you're so perfect, you're so this, so that, you're so other. And in both of those cases, it's either I have to manipulate the situation in order to make sure that my performance shows as being superior,
Mm.
or I have to manipulate the system, the situation, and the people around me in order to make sure that the praise.
Wow. Interesting. That is interesting.
Somebody special, but you know, and then the lower root of the control. In either one of those cases, there's an absolute control aspect. You feel like they need this, and because life doesn't naturally work that way, manipulation comes, falls into place with it in order to have it happen as much as possible.
Right.
And if they get into a spot where the manipulation, the victim tactics, the victim, tactic, the attack tactic, the the disrespect tactic, all of that. If none of that works, then they move to the disregard and they start looking for another source.
Mhm.
Now you go from everything good to being everything that's wrong to being nothing.
Mm.
Mm.
Wow, that is insane. Oh my God. So basically, it's based on something like a hierarchy of how you should be or an expectation of yourself. And if that expectation is questioned, then that's how the narcissism transforms. Is that what it is?
That can be included in it.
Mm.
That makes a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
sense.
It's
Oh
like
my
I would
God.
think of it as a winning a beauty pageant person who goes up every year, and every year they're like the winner, they're the winner, they're the winner, and now there's somebody prettier or somebody who has a different talent or something that they will make sure that they break her heels. She's falling down a flight of
I
stairs.
was just thinking
This
that.
she's gonna walk across that stage like she used to. And that is like the narcissist, way. They're going to make sure that who's the person that's supposed to not win or be their second runner up is going to
Right.
stay in that place. They're going to make sure that they, put that pressure or that those words in place so that people see that person in a bad way, or that they're laughing at that person, or that person, can't be higher than them.
Mhm.
So even like he said, if it's not already in existence that they are going to be the higher person or it's guaranteed, they will step on all the shoulders and all the heads to make sure they are.
Okay, being superior as a narcissist, what does that do to the victim, their victim? What does that do for them? You know what I'm saying?
Ain't enough room for both of you.
It's not.
Ah, okay, okay. I like okay.
I was gonna
It's
say maybe
either
like a heroin
That's
addict.
deep.
That's what it does.
it's either you're either above me
Yeah.
and I have no use for you, or I'm above you and you are the scum on the bottom of my shoe.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
You,
Serious.
you are what I stand on to be this tall. I need you to
Oh
Correct.
wow.
in order
Correct.
to be
Wow.
this tall, and I need
That's
to be
deep.
this tall.
That's
So if
deep.
you don't bend down and let me stand on you, I'm going to find somebody else who will. I'm going to put someone else
Mm.
bent over and make sure I can stand on them instead. We'll
Wow.
bend
And
over
people
properly.
Yes.
people that don't fall in line with that, then it's all of a sudden it's their problem.
Yep.
They're a terrible friend. Listen, I watched friend after friend after friend after friend after friend, back away. And it was always them. It was always them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
now, knowing what I know and having evolved the way that I've evolved, I look back and I was like, wait, you was the most common denominator. Before me, yep, this one ruined my life. Then I came along, I ruined their life. Now I'm not even there no more. Life's still ruined. Okay.
Yep.
And that's not even just the example that I saw when I was married. Even beyond that, since the split and the divorce and everything, I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah. I have another question. When you have is all narcissists created equal, or do men and women have different approaches to it?
It is largely the same. Okay. There are some absolutely some nuances, of course.
Okay.
But the basic premise and the basic framework between men and women that are experiencing that is largely the same.
And I saw
the only difference is, as Lisa pointed out before, is that there is that element of there is a little bit, not even a little bit, there is a more significant element of it resorting to physical abuse as it happens from men doing it to women as opposed to women doing it to men. Not to say that I wasn't threatened with physical abuse, but I'm 6'3", 300 pounds. You won't think twice before doing that.
Right. Makes sense.
I saw a question as to why do they play the victim? Their victim playing is just them trying to get that trip up. It's that breaking of the heel of the beauty pageant. And playing victim gets people to look at them like, oh, why would she do that to him? No, let her win. Let him win.
Yeah.
The attention, yes.
Yeah. It's a play to make them seem like,
the attention, the directed energy at them is that crave it, need it, because God forbid they don't get it, they're then forced to deal with the reality of the fact that you ain't on, that you might not be. And you're not the A+ student,
and that's a reality they can't deal with.
Oh, it's hard. It is hard.
It cannot. You're not gonna tell me that I'm not Superman. Like
you're
Superman.
No. And even going so far as to be like, if there's not somebody else to blame it on, it's the devil.
It's true. That's true.
So even when there's not a concrete person to put it on, and that's probably gonna get me in trouble later on. Even if there's not a concrete person,
it's true,
for them to blame their woes on or to stand on, they'll, in that victim of mentality, they will resort to the abstract of evil forces are at work in my life. That's why I can't have nice things.
So I wanted to add this because I'm glad you kind of brought up the performance, praise, and power piece to it. Because even for me, I've experienced that myself. So in looking back, I see how all of those aspects played a role. So would you kind of also say that how can I put this? Because I know the person that I was dealing with, this was something I felt like they attributed from their childhood. There was a big thing on their performance in sports when they were in school. It was huge on their performance in their academics. So they had to be, make straight A's all the time. They were good in basketball, football, any sport that you could think of. They had to be the best at everything. So is it almost that when you find people that have a somewhat perfectionist complex, that they kind of fall into this realm, later on? Because it's almost like you're gaining that momentum of,
that's a good question.
You gotta be perfect.
That's a good question.
And then when you realize that you're not, or something happens to kind of, diminish that, I
Right.
think is that kind of like where the onset may begin though, because of the perfectionism?
It can happen. It can happen even before they hit. It can happen even before the reality hit comes. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like saying that you were describing it. In my head, I already had I was already generating a response. Where it's like, not every perfectionist is a narcissist, but every
Right.
narcissist is a perfectionist.
Mm,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
very
Okay.
well said.
That
Yes,
makes
because
sense.
Oh,
I would say that it's based on your own empathy, your own ability to check yourself and say,
That's
that's
huge.
wrong. I'm doing too much. Or,
right.
I said something bad to that person. Let me apologize. Those are the little
Right.
things that show you the difference between a narcissist and a not
Mhm.
narcissist person, because their personality will say to you, hey, you know what? I shouldn't have yelled at you. Narcissists will do that to make you, to love bomb you, to get you back into their circle.
Mhm.
But the person that's saying to you, I did something wrong, I am wrong for doing this, or, I have a flaw, that a narcissist will not admit to their flaws. They will just
Mm,
be
Got
wrong
it.
and
Got it.
convince you of why they were right
yeah.
at being
Or,
wrong.
or basically, they're pride stricken.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
So many words, yeah.
Okay.
in so many words, yeah.
Oh
Mhm.
my God.
There is such there is such a need to distance themselves from any point of humility, um,
Mhm.
Mm,
or at least humility, or at least any point of humility that they don't deem useful.
mm,
Mm.
mm.
Because some will even take pride in being humble. It's like, I give all my money to everybody. What are you talking about? I'm the most
Right.
humanitarian there is.
Yeah.
I am filled with Christ's love.
That's true.
I
And
didn't
that's
I didn't want
true.
to throw away all of my leftovers, so I gave it to the homeless people.
Aren't I a good person? Aren't I? Aren't I? You
It
Answer
know,
the
sounds
question.
like Chad and I know a few of these people. I don't know.
yeah,
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
and it's really unfortunate because what you
Oh my God.
they miss it time and time again. And I talk about it with people like, well, well, how do you navigate yourself away from that? Even for you to, whether you've been the victim, whether you've been the perpetrator or the victim, how do you come out of that? And for both stances, I'll speak for my journey on it. I had to go from looking at things from a point of superiority or inferiority to simply a place of supremacy. And I know it sounds like it's a synonym,
Yeah.
and I'll explain why it's not. Superiority is relative. It has to do with your state in relation to something else.
Okay.
I'm superior to this. I'm, and whatever it is. And for the narcissist, they're like, I'm superior in whatever way that they find for you. They harp on it in order to maintain that high, because that's where their self. That is where what equates to self-esteem for them comes from. Supremacy is self-sustaining. It
Mm,
simply means I am excellent because I am of this quality.
mm.
That's just it. It's not relative to anything. It's simply just, I'm the shit.
Basically.
Yeah.
I'm the shit because I am, and here are the reasons why. It doesn't mean that you can't be the shit. You can stand right next to me and be the shit.
We can be the shit together. Yeah, that's like that. You see what I mean? It's that the difference is your belief in yourself versus you need everyone to believe this about you.
Right.
It's
Right.
that you're running around proving to everyone that this is what I do and this is what I'm capable of,
Right.
versus you just knowing I'm good with me
Yes.
however I am or whatever level I'm at.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my belief based off of what I know about myself, but it is in no way, shape, or form dependent on you believing it into.
Mhm.
Okay, I got another thing I want to say real quick because you said something that struck a nerve. Now me personally, like I said, like with the behaviors that a narcissist is, like me and just how I am personally, and Shawan knows me well. Like my tolerance for that behavior, I will shut off quick. I mean, maybe that's how my Capricorn set up. Maybe, I don't know. But
Perhaps.
my thing is, I got a question. So if I attract a narcissist, does that mean that I may have those traits in me to attract it, or what?
The empathy. You have empathy. Empathy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Empathy.
that's what
Empathy
attracts.
is what attracts a narcissist. It's like
Okay.
a moth to a flame. They see the empathy as their flame, and they just have to
Mhm.
go there and get all of it, and enjoy it, because they don't have it for themselves. They don't have any inside them. So they're technically mimicking you or learning you or trying to be what you have. And if they can't, they just want to put that light out.
Mhm.
But my thing is, eventually you're gonna have to switch up. So what about in the switching up?
Empaths are, and this is where a lot of empaths get caught up in it, because
Okay.
it is because the same thing that attracts them to us is also part of why it's hard for us to
Go.
switch, to kind of like move away from it, because we care.
Yep.
It's because we give the energy. It's because we care.
Interesting.
And we're like, no, we can save them.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
No, they're just a wayward soul. We can
Right.
do it. No, just gotta pray harder. Just
Well, you know
open
what?
up my
Maybe
heart
I'm
more,
just a
figure
cold.
something out.
Maybe I'm just a cold bastard.
No,
I'm just
no, I'm gonna tell you.
because
I'm going to tell you.
I don't give a damn. I ain't got time. I'm out.
I'm about to give you free game, DC.
All right, come on.
I'm about to give you free game. I charge $2,500 for this.
Okay.
There is nothing wrong with loving from a distance.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's not that you're
Facts.
cold. It's not that you're cold. It's that you understand, and you got love for people.
Right.
But you understand that loving doesn't mean that that everybody's right up on you. You gotta love them from a place where you still have your peace.
Yes.
And you can still love them.
Now, you know what? I thought of a line, because I'm a poet too. I thought of a line that I say in this poem, and it's relevant to what you just said. And the line goes like this: even though I am strong, I am not strong enough for somebody else's weakness. Period. Out.
Nor is that your job.
Facts. Facts.
Yeah.
So
And that's where you draw the line. You know where you sit or live in this. That's why I said, when you have narcissist family members, you can't just discard them or throw them away, but you stop telling them stuff. You stop sharing with them. You stop plugging into that person.
I'm a cold bastard.
And then you still have that.
It's not that
throw your ass away too. You out too. You're all gone. You're out. Get out.
You don't have to be in it. You can love that person all the way for the rest of your life, but you don't have to be in it.
Like this is why I think it took a long time to love David. This took years, and I'm not gonna allow you to jeopardize that love. So that alone is my deflectant right there. Like, I'm not going to allow you to infiltrate that to mess me up. I just will not.
Not supposed to. You got it.
Now,
You got it. That's it.
We had to get to the people who dealt with narcissists had to get to that place
And that's
of
true.
knowing themselves.
I had to rebuild.
Yeah.
Right.
I had to rebuild.
Right.
When I
make it
came out
about
of
you.
that, I had to start with that I know people use it rhetorically, but I had to come back home and was like, yo, who am I? Who am I? What do I like?
Right.
Right.
What am I gonna put up? What do I put up with? What do I not put up with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are my likes and dislikes?
Right.
Why do I like the color blue? Why do I like singing?
Right.
Right.
Because it'll have you second, if you stay in it, it'll have you second guessing stuff that you thought you were certain about.
Facts.
Mhm.
Facts. That's facts. That's facts.
Yes.
I mean, I know for me personally, I've really had to appreciate boundaries, force boundaries, because I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And that's why I found myself getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the situation, because I never set a boundary. I never said, hey, I don't like that. Like, I don't like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't voice it because I still had that martyr syndrome. Like, I got to make this work. You know what I mean? It was just, oh God, it was bad. You know what I mean? But it takes a toll on you emotionally. If you are not in that place where you're really strong enough to really love yourself in that way. It does take a lot of regrouping and revamping and reorganizing your life once you come out of that, because you've lost so much of yourself in it.
I'm a springboard off of something that Lisa said in part one and then brought back around in this conversation. When it comes down to what it is that you gather in your formative years, if that's not something that you don't know what you don't know until you encounter the knowledge that's contrary to it.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I definitely.
You don't build on it. Not knowing what I know now, I talk to my kids now at 9-11, be like, listen, I don't need you to be like me. I don't need you to be like your mother. I need you to figure out who you are. That's my role. My role is to guide you to figuring out who you are. I do not need you to be like, don't worry about being like me.
Yeah.
Very well said.
And right there, generational curse broken. And that's what
facts. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You get done.
Exactly. We learn it and we do it, and we, like he said, he felt responsible in that relationship. He felt like he needed to stay there because my parents are together. My parents fight. I see my parents fight. Of course they fight. They were probably fighting normal fight, like you did something wrong, and then make up like regular people. But when you're dealing with the narcissist, you don't realize you're being manipulated into this fight. So you're sitting there thinking you're dealing with a normal situation and you're handling how you saw a normal situation be handled. And you're like, okay, let's go to counseling. Let's talk about it. You're trying to do things normally, but you're not in a normal situation. When you're dealing with a narcissist, you can't handle them or the situation like it's two regular people dealing with the argument or two regular people having a conversation, because you're just not in that space. No matter how much you want to be.
Wow.
That's facts.
That's deep. God. That's grown folk right there.
Learning those boundaries, learning how to give without having the floodgates completely open. Learning how to filter.
Yes.
But most importantly, absolutely most importantly, and this is where my role as an identity coach comes into play, because I help people figure themselves out. That foundation, DC, when you talk about taking time to learn how to love you and understand you and be knowledgeable about you, that is the foundation for it. That is the foundation for everything else. Right. That's why you're able to stand on that knowledge, that very, very certain self-assuring, understanding of yourself, and be like, okay, no, that doesn't work for me. Right. I knew myself. That doesn't work for me.
Right. And just hearing this, I almost feel like I was in a bubble. Until I heard, I'm like, what? People do that? Wow.
People do it.
Because the way I'm set up, like my tolerance for that would be zero. I'm out. Like, I ain't got time.
May more people have that genuine understanding of themselves so that they can stay away from stuff like that.
And the way my Capricorn set up, my shut off game is long. Like,
I'm a Capricorn rising myself, so I'm
no conversation.
I'm hard in the paint with it.
Damn a ghost. I'm gonna tell you I'm leaving here. I'm out. And I'm gonna tell you to your face. I ain't gotta go shit. I want to let you know what I'm doing.
Yes.
Oh, I'm good. I'm super good for that. Chad, you don't want to do this? No. Yeah, you don't want to? No. What you gonna do? You sure? No. I don't know. What, you want to fight? No. I said no. I love you, but no.
boundaries. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Don't mean I gotta do everything that you
Right.
want me to do. It don't
That's
mean I
right.
gotta agree with you for nothing.
Nothing.
Right.
Right.
And those
Right.
are the early signs. Those are the things that you're looking for and hopefully to see. Those are the flags that are unseen. When you're
Right.
dealing with something that is in the love stage, you're happy, everything is fine.
Oh
They're
God.
doing stuff for you, you're doing stuff for them, everything is fine. But that's when you're not setting your boundaries. That's when you're
Yeah.
not saying no.
Yeah.
And that's when you need to be saying no. So
Yeah.
So
that
the
you can
easy,
see
so the
on-
easy target. Let me ask. So the easy target for a narcissist is a person that really don't love themselves or not sure of themselves or what?
doesn't know themselves.
Doesn't.
Don't know
Yeah,
themselves.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So that makes the identity coach in you perfect. Like we need more.
Correct.
All day, every day.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
And we are in right now. We are in probably the most prolific sense of identity crisis ever,
Mm.
Dang.
which is why it has surfaced the way that it has, which is why it's more in the forefront the way that it is.
Wow. I would agree with that. A lot of people don't operate in purpose, don't do nothing. They just
Yeah.
do what everybody else is doing. They feel like they can get the same results that somebody else get.
Yeah.
And you got to know who you are. And if you don't, it's gonna be a problem. You know.
You got to figure out. You got to figure out and walk your path, and be okay with the fact that most of the time your path is going to be just you,
Right.
Facts.
Right.
Facts. That is facts.
and you got to be okay with that. It don't mean that you're not going to have people that's not going to band together and support you and love you along the way. But understand that at the end of the day, at the bottom line, it's you.
right.
It is you. What it is you and your choices. It is you and your beliefs. It is you and whatever that you rely on to guide you. It is you, and whatever you rely on to help you unwind. It is you, and whatever way you need in order to move forward and feel fulfilled or feel satisfied. This, that, and third. It is at the end of the day, it is you.
Right.
Yeah.
That is true. That is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is true. Very well said. Very well said.
So that's another thing that we do teach. I know I teach my kids as well. Like Chad was saying, it's a different. Once you go through this type of situation, you can teach your kids how to stay away from it. Like when my daughter is, she's a teenager, she's calls me up or says this about this guy or this about that guy, and instead of saying, "Oh, you shouldn't date him," I said, "Oh, does he sound like anybody else you know?" She's like, "Wait, yeah, I'm not talking to him anymore." Thanks. Works for me, and it's like, she can see the signs. I don't have to tell her, all I have to do is let her know that she's right. She doesn't have to deal with these things. People can disagree. You don't have to convince somebody to listen to you or understand your way. If you say your way and they say their way, you either agree to disagree or not. If they're trying to convince you that their way is correct, does that sound like anybody else you know?
Right. Right. Right.
Unless it actually is correct, because you can't be above correction either. But unless it actually is, but in most cases, when you're dealing with a narcissist, it's absolutely more for their benefit than it is for yours.
And I think being a parent, going to Lisa, being a parent, and that your parent is like that, that's kind of a harder thing to deal with rather than if it was somebody
of course
you didn't know. You know what I'm saying? It's more personal. You know what I'm saying? It would be very difficult for me. So it's very difficult.
Because my kids love their father to death. Of course, you can't say no wrong. He's the top of everything and best thing since sliced bread. But they do know his flaws, and being able to see that, okay, he's not right all the time, or when I say this, wait, he changed my mind, or he said something that wasn't what I said. I just, let them see it for themselves. I'm not trying to convince them to, dislike one parent over the other or anything like that, because I don't want their own damage to come from it. I just want them to be able to see for themselves, oh, this is black and white. And this is white, this is black. And here we go. Right. You can decide whatever your life you need to do, but you just need to know these are the facts, and this is the facts of life, and not just this one person you're going to deal with. Because like I said, she meets other people, even girlfriends, classmates, aunts and uncles. She deals with, many different people. So in that dealing, she can tell, well, this person is being genuine. This person is only gets stuff from me when they want stuff from me, or it's helpful to me when they want stuff from me, things like that. And then she's like, wait, hey, I'm like, okay, I'm not saying anything, but I
Right.
want you to know on your own. I want it to be something that you are aware of on your own, so that going through life, you have that own information inside of you.
Now, Lisa, yesterday you were talking about when the show ended that you had 9 other steps or something that you were implementing that you haven't brought. Could you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, some of the steps were like the things where narcissists can't receive no, or trying to get restraining order from a narcissist, things like that. This is when you get down to they're trying to discard you, or they're trying to prove that they're the superior person in the relationship. They will make sure that by any means you can't get out,
So,
so
so to discredit you, basically.
to discredit you, everything to discredit you, like I said, pinch you under the table and make you scream out loud, so
Got
that everyone else in the room is looking at you like the crazy person, and you're like trying to prove, no, 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 really, they pinched me under the table, I promise. I can show you the
Right.
bruise, but there's no bruise, of course. Whatever they do to you, it's without evidence. So your ability to sustain yourself with a narcissist is to make sure that you've got some proof in the game, and that is one way to make sure that they have to shut up. And then of course they will discredit you in another way once you prove they've done this thing, but they will find another way to say something else is wrong with you, or this is why you're doing that. But the narcissist tends to continue to make sure that they stay on top. So like,
I love New Jersey because it's a one-party recording state.
Yeah. So these are the things, and then those are the things that you have to get in order to be able to prove to the world that you're even right, because everything they do will be under the table, will be hidden unless they're a overt narcissist and they don't have that same care to whether or not people believe they're great. They're just saying they're great and everyone has to believe them. It's not where they're going to need to prove it. They're just going to keep doing things to make sure that everyone knows they're great. Whoever disagrees with me, I'm going to, eliminate or hurt or do whatever I need to do to make sure that I'm great. So overt is just like, they're outlandish, nothing, no remorse, no sympathy for you. So they also have like I was telling you about, gray rocking is something where you're silent to them or you keep to yourself. Chad used food, I used energy as the way of them getting their source, but I like food. Food is good.
Or no contact is
Yeah.
I tell you.
Not necessarily easy, but once you have it,
Not easy.
it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous because they need that energy to plug into. If they don't have, just imagine somebody who can't stay still, and then they're made to just sit still and do nothing. They're actually like internally ready to explode, because now they have to deal with their own thoughts. They have to deal with their own, mind, what's going on in their head, trying to keep proving who they are.
Right.
And that is all they can focus on. They're going to wake up, eat, sleep, and drink nothing else but how to make sure they stay on top. And that is one of the things that they're going to keep doing and keep doing. So you can't give them no. You can't take away your contact or take away your presence from them, because they start to deplete. Their source of energy has been removed, and they're like trying to gain it. They're like man without the sun, It's like they have to get it back.
Wow.
That's facts. And one of the biggest things that I help people who have experienced this with, because I've helped quite a few people since coming out of my own experience with it. There is the person, and then there's this mindset.
Right.
There's the person and the mindset. All right. Nobody comes out the womb like this.
Yeah.
So you have to remember that. And I'm jumping onto my theological soapbox real quick. You have this soul in front of you. All right. We all come from the same place. You have this soul in front of you, and the conditioning takes us through all these different twists and turns and so on. Right? We all have these choices that we make that either keep us in alignment with our design or move us out of alignment with our design. You happen to have this person who has made choices and allow themselves to be moved and shaped into a space that is definitely contradictory to their genuine selves. And we have to remember that. So this is why you hear Lisa and I too, we talk about what occurred without dogging the person. We talk about what we experienced being around that mindset without dogging the person out, because at the end of the day, she's a fantastic person. When she's not operating in that, she's an awesome person. She's a fantastic mother, and the other people that I've experienced, I can see all these fantastic, wonderful qualities, about them. It's not that I understand that they operate in high, narcissistic tendencies or actually having narcissistic personality disorder, and that's all I can see about them. I can see how they can be loving when they're not, when they get out from under that. I can see how they can be nurturing. I can see how they can be funny. I can see how they can be insightful, and so on and so forth. When they get out from under that, it's the getting out from under it.
Yes. So that's one of those things where you just want to make sure you're always paying attention to what you're doing, because then they can't do it to you unless you allow them. And if you put yourself in a space of non-allowance, which could be the gray rocking or no contact, or just minimizing how you communicate with them, that changes what you allow. That sets your own boundaries and protects yourself. They can't keep you up at night with sleep deprivation if you're saying, you know what, I'm gonna go in this room, lock this door, and go to sleep. They might play music and blast, other stuff so that they think they're keeping you up, but you can put in some earplugs or do something else. But you can make steps to protect yourself, even on situations, because a lot of people that are in narcissist relationships cannot get out. And I don't mean just male and female relationships, parents, family members, people they depend on. They have to, help an older parent, stuff like that. They have to live with them, and they are narcissists. They can't get out of that, but they have to protect themselves while they're in that space. Those are the ways to be able to protect yourself, is to say, I'm not going to allow this. When that person starts to pick at you and they're turning the argument into something you've done wrong, remove yourself from the argument. Okay, you're right. And that's it. They don't have any.
Oh, they hate that.
They have no fire.
They hate that.
No energy after that. Yes.
Now, I have a question. This is to my co-host. Hi, co-host. How you doing, Sunshine? Me and you done talk about your men relationships a lot, and I laugh in silence because I love you. So with that being said, what is something that you're hearing about narcissism with them that you've learned that you didn't really were aware of when you were in the relationships?
Well, a lot of it I'm now more cognizant of, but for Chad to bring up the whole performance, praise, and power piece, I never looked at it like that, but it makes so much more sense because we were having a conversation about this anyway, and I was talking about just how he had to overperform. It was like he was an overachiever, and certain things in his life transpired where it's like he lost everything. And not to put his business out there, but he was incarcerated for 10 years and then came back. So it was like he had to revamp and redo everything. But it was almost like whatever he felt before he left, it was like that became the norm. So it was like, no, well, this didn't happen to me. Oh, no, I didn't do that. No, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm this good person. I do this, and I'm the best boyfriend anybody could ever want. Then it led to a whole other phase. Oh yeah, you're supposed to treat me like that because I'm God. I said, what?
Exit stage right there. I've been out.
There you go. And it was right at that moment I knew this is it. Like this is it.
Have you ever had something cut off? Have you ever had a phone cut off while you was talking? While he was talking, I'm leaving. I guess that's ghosting. I'm out. Right there. I'm just saying,
No
like,
water.
what?
That's that.
Look, I don't have to. You know what?
Oh, you took.
I understand that's your stance. I do not have to align myself with it. Good day.
Facts.
Right.
Stop
Exactly.
playing with me. I ain't got time for
Yeah,
that. Stop playing with me. I ain't got time.
yeah,
Oh, you God? Okay, cool. You can be God by yourself.
Right.
yeah,
Out.
yeah,
I ain't got
I
time.
understand 100%, and that's what it is. You're
And
just
you still had a
learning that.
conversation with him after that? That was
Well, I mean,
conversation.
unfortunately,
All
the
right.
day
You know
that
what? You know what? It's my fault. I'm not praying hard enough. That's my fault.
no,
Don't you believe it?
I wasn't praying hard
Don't you believe it? I went there. Don't you believe
I
it?
wasn't praying hard enough because honestly, had I been praying the right prayer, they wouldn't have been there long enough for them to even say that to me.
Facts.
Okay,
Facts.
so I wasn't praying hard enough.
Okay.
But you know, that honestly, that day, you know, I knew then, and the next day he was gone. You know what I mean? But it just, I like I was telling Lisa, you know, I had to really put myself out there in a way that it ate me up inside, that I even had to lie like that. But I had to do it. I had, just like I felt like he was putting on a performance, I had to put on a performance. You know, and
I'm going to get my Oscar right now. Hold on.
I'm telling you, and I mean, in my heart of hearts, I earned my Oscar that day, you know, because I had to go in front of his family. And I literally said to them, because he said, oh, well, don't tell them nothing that's going on. It's none of their business. And I said, okay. And I went in and I said, you know what? Now, this is the grown folks part of the conversation. So I'm going to just be real vulgar about what I said.
Okay.
So I walked in and I was telling his mother, you know, because her and I, we had developed somewhat of a relationship. And I was like, you know, I went in and I was fighting back the tears because I knew I was about to say something that wasn't true, but I had to say it. You know, I had to keep a face on, you know. And I was like, you know, I just wanted to say that I really do apologize, you know, for treating your son this way. You know, he deserves somebody better. I'm just a piece of shit. And he just deserves somebody better than me. And I'm not treating him the way that he should be treated. So, you know, things are just not going to work out.
You know, people with Oscars don't perform for free. That's too much. That's too much free performances.
Man, when I say
that was
the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It was the hardest thing I've ever. I mean, just everything that I was saying was like, Shawan, you lying to these people. They know who their son is. Okay, they know it's not you.
That was my anthem. I'm so sorry. This time. Bro, that was my anthem. And they let me sing that, and they let me sing that tune too because it worked.
And like you said, they know who you're dealing with. It's not.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry as much. Sorry.
Right. I understand.
But yes.
Yeah. Always my fault.com.
Yes, that is perfect. That is always my fault.com. And that is a good way to get yourself out of it.
I'm gonna have to bite you on that.
You take the blame, and that argument will be over.
You biting me, biting off somebody else. Tamar Braxton said that in the episode of Braxton. So I was like, I'm gonna use that one day. I'm gonna find a place to use that one day. Thank you. But that's, you know, and it's good to have some levity. It's good to have some levity to add some levity to this because it is absolutely a serious, you know, situation to be in it and whatnot. And you have to find some sense of levity in that. And it actually helps with your recovery.
Yeah.
When you can get to the point where you can, especially being the victim, you can get to the point and you can look at some of the things that you acquiesce to. Right? That's your vocabulary word for the day. You can look at some of the things that you acquiesce to, and you can actually laugh and seriously and actually shake your head and be like, I cannot believe I agreed to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You was a dumb motherfucker for doing that. You said
You're talking to
you
yourself.
you said that you was okay with that, and you wasn't. You went over here. You let them drag you into that argument when you could have walked away. Oh,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
oh, man,
Yeah.
Chad.
Mhm.
Why, Chad?
Yeah.
Right.
How, Sway?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you can get to that point,
Right.
and it is my prayer for anybody who hears this. It is my prayer for anybody who is going through this, who is currently going through this, who has gone through it, and doesn't know how to move forward. It is my prayer for everybody to get to that point where you get it, because that's healing when you get to that point.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You just like you can soberly look at the situation, right? Not adding
Mm.
anything to it, not taking anything away from it. You can soberly look at the situation and be like, okay, that's what I did. That was foolish. That was out of place.
Yeah.
That wasn't me operating in my meanness.
Mhm.
I can do better, and I am.
Right.
But that was foolish.
Yeah.
Mm. Right.
And that's where you get to that point when you learn. I feel like once you learn what you've dealt with, once you learn the things that are in front of you or that you're seeing or that is going on around you, then you can make the choice. You can decide, maybe you can't get out right away, but you can decide, oh, this is how I'm going to be in this space.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said, very, very dangerous, very, very much red, danger signs up when we
Yeah.
say this, going
Yes.
no contact, gray rocking, taking your energy away from them is as good as putting a target on your forehead, your back, wherever they will aim for. But you are definitely not in a safe place just because you did that. You're
They'll
own,
try to get people to co-sign on it too.
yes, and just trying to get your own healing going on. That's where that place is. Like making sure that you're protecting your own self is where you can do that no contact gray rocking and just not giving them the energy. Oh yeah, you think that? Okay, you're right. Even if
Mhm.
you say you're right 100 times, they will suddenly say, "What do you mean? What do you mean I'm right? Like, why are you
Yeah.
just telling me I'm right all the time? Like, you can't even go onto the other side of
You're
oh,
not even
you're
in the
great.
conversation with me anymore. You're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Okay.
will not be, it's not an easy transition. It is not something that you can just say, oh, I'm just going to do this and it'll be fine. No, I have a few steps that I put down that will be in my clubhouse is one of the 9 that came up is educate yourself about NPD, narcissist personality disorder,
Mhm.
build your own self-esteem up, make sure that you have that superiority of yourself, that you believe in yourself, not that anyone else has to show you how to
Supremacy.
be or how to
You are
prove
self.
yourself.
You are
You have to
self-supreme.
do that
I'm gonna have to write
through
a book.
you. Yes. And speak up for yourself, like making sure that the people around you hear about these things, even if you use little ways of proving it, show them text messages, show them voicemails, show them your recordings, but gain your own um, support system by advising others about what you're going on to, even if they don't believe you. It's just so that you have proven that yes, I'm not crazy. This is not just going on in my world. This is not just going on in my head. This is real, and I've told other people about it. Set clear boundaries if you have to stay in the situation with a narcissist. I'm not doing this, and that's it. Okay, you can still say, yeah, that sounds great. Uh-huh. I'm not doing this. You can set clear boundaries. They will not be happy. It will be a disaster, but this is you protecting yourself. Um, pra- Practice skills to keep calm because that is like a way to deal with them. They're going to be hitting you with a bat over and over again, and you're going to have to be like, that doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
That doesn't hurt.
You
It's
do.
you have to practice to be able to be hit with that bat and not let it affect you. So practicing, those kind of skills and find a support system. Like I was saying, just make sure the people around you know, make sure you have places to go where they know what you're going through and they know, what you're saying is not crazy talk. And that's a lot of the issue is that you're trying to say things that sounds odd or sounds like it's extreme, or like people say, why did you stay? Why are you still there? You know, they always come with that kind of mentality. And it's like, many people have reasons for leaving. Like I said, it might be a parent, it might be a family member when they have to take care of it, they can't leave. So staying is not always the reason, that people are sucked into being with a narcissist. They can't always leave. So finding your support system and getting consistent help is what you need. And insist on immediate action and not promises. So a narcissist is going to give you tons of promises. Yes, I'm going to do that next week. I'm going to clean up the garage like you asked me, and everything is going to be fine. We're going to be good, right? The garage is never going to get cleaned if you don't make sure that that is a real thing, not a promise. They make sure, no, you have to clean the garage by Tuesday. If it's not clean by Tuesday, I'm leaving. And you have to leave on Tuesday. Because if you don't leave on Tuesday,
you gotta back that up.
You gotta go. You have to make sure that they believe when you say your threat or whatever it is, they know you're gonna follow through with it. Because now you can stay there and know things are gonna get done instead of just hoping that they one day will. And understand that the narcissist person may need professional help. That's not your responsibility to be their physician or their professional help or their punching bag, because they need professional help. Understanding that they do, and having that sympathy is not crazy. You are a normal human being that wants to help another person that's suffering, but they're suffering with like sticking the knife in themselves. So they're suffering and like pushing it further in and pushing it further in and be like, but I can't get this knife out. Well,
Stop the cap.
You're pushing it in, so that won't work. So you just have to know that you're not the person that needs to help them. They have to help themselves.
That's real.
A lot. This has been an amazing experience for me, and it's a wealth of information.
I have one more topic I can share too.
Okay, go ahead.
The narcissist, the uselessness of a restraining order with a narcissist, because we did speak about the grandiose sense and the things that they need to prove and you can't restrict them. So getting a restraining order is basically telling them they can't do something. So a narcissist will almost guaranteed disobey a restraining order. So I don't say get a restraining order. I say that to say, get a restraining order knowing you're looking over your left shoulder, you're looking over your right shoulder, and you need your support system. That restraining order is a legal document that will enforce, the rules that they're supposed to follow. But at the same time, just don't get it thinking that they're just going to follow these rules, because in fact, they will almost guaranteed do the opposite. They're going to break these rules to the highest level. They're going to show up at your doorstep. They're going to, follow you at school. They're going to do things behind your back and, like go to your work and tell your coworkers that you did something to them or something like that. So they'll try to get in front of a restraining order, and they will have no care whatsoever of the repercussions of that restraining order. Just do that because they have to prove themselves correct. Those are another one of the things I want to bring up. A restraining order is definitely law-abiding document that will help you if they come, if they show up in your places, if you can prove it. But that is the key, proving it and making sure you're aware that they're still coming.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure that Shawan and talked about you guys in the bios or whatever that she had for you guys. But tell all the listeners, where can they find you guys?
Sure.
Ladies first.
For me, I'm on Clubhouse. I'm on the app Clubhouse. The house is called Flags Unseen. We're there on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. to help, people with going on through the same thing. Just learn more, just like how we talked about today. Learn about what is going on with you. Learn how you can deal with it, how you can help yourself. And as well, hopefully, I should be writing my book soon. So that should be coming out.
So what time are you on Clubhouse on Tuesdays? On what time?
8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay,
yes.
8 p.m. Eastern. Okay,
8 p.m. Cool. Eastern, yes. So we're there just in a room to be able to share non-judgmentally, hear everybody else's stories and be able to share our experiences and let people know.
And what's the name of that room again? On Clubhouse?
Flags Unseen.
Flags Unseen. Okay.
Mhm.
Flags Unseen. And Chad, where can they find you at?
You can find me on Facebook, Chad H Nails. Reach out if you have any questions or comments or anything like that. On Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and YouTube, you can find me as Unveiled Coach, where I give I give plenty of advice on just how to get in touch with yourself a little bit better in order to make better life decisions.
I just want to say this thing about you real quick, Chad. I love the fact you said identity. When you first said it, I was like, what is that? What is he talking about? But when you explained it, I think you need to exploit that more. I mean, that's just coming in my spirit because I've never heard of that. And now that me knowing more about narcissism, I think that's necessary.
Yeah.
I think more people need to hear about that and what you do regarding that. For real. So.
Okay, well, shameless plug. I'm here.
Also, I should have added the Facebook and Instagram for Flags Unseen is Flags Unseen 2023. To be able to join, it is just me allowing you into the room. We don't want everyone there that may not belong there. So It will be just yes, I want to come in here. I'll ask you a couple of questions, and that's it for those rooms. But Flags Unseen 2023 on Instagram and Facebook. And I have the postings of my room, the topics I go over in my room. I put together like a PowerPoint or a little design presentation so you can read on what I've went over for that day. And it's each topic, a new topic each week.
Okay.
I'm also currently, as we speak right now, I am building a new Facebook group for Unveiled Coaching, which, like Lisa's page, will be highly curated for a specific clientele. So,
got it. Okay. All right. Well, I will say this, imparting that I love both of you guys. You are a wealth of information, very, very informative about what you do, and I thank God for both of you guys for coming onto the show and choosing to do so. And it's talking about your stories and talking about what you do and just enlightening us on all the things regarding being a narcissist. Because, like I said, I was very aware of it until this conversation as well as the conversation prior with Lisa. So I want to thank you guys for coming up to shaking up the algorithms, and love you both. And we may have to do a part 3. I don't know.
Love y'all too.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could do.
Because I'm loving this. This is good conversation. It fed my spirit so many ways, and I just thank you guys. Thank you both.
Thank you so much for having us.
It was,
appreciate
it was an absolute pleasure being here.
Well, I think the part 3 is going to have to be about finding your identity.
Oh,
I'm here.
I know it. I got it.
I like that.
Yes.
That's part to everybody listening. Now look, we ain't gonna be talking about no raggedy people. We talking about finding you now on the third one.
Exactly.
That's gonna be good.
And it's worth. When I tell you it's worth it.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
You know what? So Chad and Lisa, we both gotta have you on that one as well.
Yeah.
And we're gonna figure out the logistics of it and the time and see how it works in conjunction with y'all schedules, and we're gonna get you back on for that.
We're happy to be here. Definitely.
Any words imparting, my lovely co-host?
Well, my famous words, my famous scripture that I gave is love is optional and grace is free. And when we get to a point where we start extending more grace to people, it will truly make a difference.
Mine is focus on the haves rather than the have-nots. Be thankful for what you have. Because whatever you don't have, you're not ready for that yet, and God is developing you into that. So focus on what you have and be thankful and grateful. Because, God loves it when you're thankful and grateful for what you have. Because if you can't have the little things, He'll give you the big things. I've learned that lesson the hard way.
Yes.
All right. I love you guys, and peace.
Peace out. Thank you.
Got it.
Find us on our social media page.
Tune in for our next video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you won't miss out on any future episodes.